Welcome back, listeners. Ever heard a phrase and thought, what on earth does that even mean?
Today, we're diving into a handful of colorful idioms, like with wild abandon and willy-nilly, and uncovering their origins and how to use them correctly.
But here's what's really interesting. Many of these sayings date back centuries, yet we still drop them into modern conversation without a second thought.
What you'll learn in the next few minutes is the literal roots, a few memorable examples, and a couple of common pitfalls to avoid.
And trust me, by the end, you'll be able to sprinkle them into your speech like a pro. No more awkward pauses.
So stay tuned, because the first phrase we'll unpack is with wild abandon. And it's wilder than you think.
All right, Sarah, let's start with wild abandon. I love how it paints a picture of reckless freedom.
Exactly, Alex. The phrase originally comes from 19th century literature, where abandon meant a total surrender of self-control. Add wild, and you get an image of someone diving headfirst into chaos.
So, when I say she danced with wild abandon at the concert, I'm saying she wasn't holding back at all.
Right on cue, Alex. And note the subtle nuance. Wild emphasizes intensity, while abandon alone could be neutral, like leaving without permission.
What most people don't realize is that you can use it in negative contexts too. He drove with wild abandon, ignoring every traffic sign.
That's a great point, and it leads us to our next phrase, not my first rodeo. Any guesses, Alex?
Sounds like a cowboy saying,
I've been at this before. It means you're experienced, right?
Exactly. It originates from the American West, where a rodeo was a test of skill. Saying it's not my first rodeo signals that the speaker has faced similar challenges before.
and it's perfect for everyday scenarios. Don't worry about the interview. It's not my first rodeo.
But
Got it. Next up, put a sock in it. That one always makes me picture a literal sock in a mouth.
the literal image is funny, but the phrase actually dates back to early 20th century British slang for silencing a gramophone by putting a sock over the horn.
So when I tell a noisy coworker, put a sock in it, I'm channeling that old-time tech trick.
Exactly. And remember, it's a polite-ish way to ask for quiet. Using it in a hostile tone can backfire.
Speaking of polite, what about without standing on ceremony? That one feels very formal.
It means doing something informally, skipping the usual formalities. The phrase comes from the old practice of literally standing when a person of rank entered a room.
So, I could say, let's have coffee without standing on ceremony, meaning we can keep it relaxed.
Exactly. And it pairs nicely with without so much as a by your leave, which adds a dash of cheekiness.
That phrase always makes me picture someone sneaking in without permission. He entered the kitchen without so much as a by your leave.
It's a humorous way to highlight the lack of formal consent, often used in light-hearted criticism.
Now, on probation. That's a legal term, but we use it in everyday speech too.
Right. In the workplace, being on probation means you're under a trial period, usually 90 days, to prove your performance.
And it can also be metaphorical. My new diet is on probation until I see results.
Exactly. And the phrase carries a subtle pressure to meet expectations.
Moving on. Null and void. Sounds like legal jargon, but we drop it in casual talk all the time.
It originates from contract law, meaning a contract has no legal effect. In everyday use, it simply means invalid or canceled.
So, your coupon is null and void after midnight. Straightforward.
Exactly. And beware of overusing it. It can sound overly formal in casual conversation.
Let's sprinkle in some seasonal fun. April showers bring May flowers.
It's a proverb, right?
Yes, it dates back to 16th century English poetry, emphasizing that rainy periods lead to growth. It's often used metaphorically for any tough period that precedes a reward.
Like saying, those late nights were tough, but April showers bring May flowers.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that patience pays off.
Now for a phrase that sounds chaotic. Willy-nilly. What's the story there?
It comes from the 16th century phrase, will he or won't he, which morphed into willy-nilly to describe something done haphazardly or without planning.
So he packed his bag willy-nilly and forgot his passport. That captures the messiness perfectly.
Exactly. And the phrase often carries a mildly humorous tone, so use it when you want to soften criticism.
Next up, get down to the nitty-gritty. That one feels like a call to focus on details.
Correct. Nitty-gritty traces back to the 19th century American expression, the nitty-gritty of a matter, meaning the essential, often messy, details.
And we use it when we want to skip the fluff. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of the budget.
Exactly. And it signals that the conversation is about to become more technical.
How about casting aspersions? That one sounds a bit dramatic. It dates to the 16th century, where aspersion meant a sprinkling. To cast aspersions originally meant to sprinkle something, but it evolved to mean making damaging accusations. So, saying, "Stop casting aspersions on my work," is a way of calling out unfair criticism.
Exactly. And it carries a formal tone. Use it when you want to sound measured yet firm.
Now, anytime soon, a phrase we use to talk about future expectations.
Yes. It's a neutral way to express uncertainty about timing. Will the new policy be implemented anytime soon?
And it can be rhetorical. Will we ever see a flying car anytime soon? Adding a hint of skepticism.
Exactly. And note the subtle difference between anytime soon and anytime soon. The former is more idiomatic.
Let's shift gears to mind out. It's a short warning, but where does it come from?
Mind out is a British colloquialism, essentially a contraction of mind your step out. It's used to alert someone of immediate danger. Think of a sign on a wet floor.
So, if I'm about to spill coffee, I might shout, "Mind out," to warn the person behind me.
Exactly. And it's informal. Best saved for casual settings.
How about past my sell-by date? That's a tasty metaphor.
It originates from food labeling. Once a product passes its sell-by date, it's considered less fresh.
Figuratively, we use it to describe ideas, trends, or even people that feel outdated. Like saying, "That meme has definitely passed its sell-by date."
Exactly. And it's a gentle way to critique without being harsh.
Finally, a bit much. We toss that around a lot, but what's the nuance?
It signals that something exceeds reasonable limits. That joke was a bit much. It can convey discomfort or disapproval, often with a tone of empathy.
And it's versatile. Use it for volume, behavior, or even workload. The deadline is a bit much for one person.
And that's just the beginning of how these idioms color our everyday speech.
Wow, Sarah, I feel like I just added a whole toolbox of expressions to my vocabulary.
And you've learned not just the meanings, but the histories that make each phrase richer.
Remember, listeners, the next time you hear willy-nilly or null and void, you can drop it with confidence.
If you start using these idioms in the right context, you'll sound both knowledgeable and relatable.
Join us next week when we unpack the origins of break the ice and why it's still chillingly relevant.
Thanks for listening to Idiom Insights. Keep exploring language, and we'll catch you in the next episode.